What is creation? Creation is form. From one perspective, you could say creation is an illusion. And what perspective would we be speaking from in order to say that? Will it be the ultimate perspective? The ultimate perspective of enlightenment, of realization, God realization, truth, the ultimate truth. So in the symbol of the yin and the yang, you have both yang, which is considered male, the positive aspect, the active aspect. And then you have yin, which is the female, the negative aspect, the passive aspect. And by negative and positive, I'm referring to the polarities of a battery. On one end of the battery, you have the active side. The other end, you have the negative side, or the ground. The earth, the sky, life, death, day and night. We live in a world of duality, but we have to live in a world of duality because worlds are created through duality. Opposite ends of the spectrum come together to form a new. Without opposite ends of the spectrum, there's nothing in between. And so the yin and yang symbol actually represents a third possibility, the balance of these two extremes, the balance of the male and the female. And when the male and the female, or the active and the passive, or the tension and the relaxation, when these two are in balance, you have what's called Tai Chi. And meditation is very much like that. I always remember an old saying from, I think it was a Siddhartha book, and or it was the Keanu Reeves movie version, but regardless, it's the same wisdom. In order to have music, you have to have the perfect balance, the perfect tension between relaxation and tension. So when you pluck the string of a guitar or a lute, if it's too loose, it will not make any noise. It'll just go blah, 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 blah. If it's too tight, boing, pop, it'll snap. So there's the perfect amount of tension and relaxation in order to create the bang, the music. So in meditation, it's no different. Many people think meditation is about relaxation. And certainly a certain degree of relaxation can come about through your practice of meditation. But meditation itself, let's say the practice of leading up to meditation. Meditation is a state of beyond mind, beyond thought, a state of non-doing. So when we talk about meditation, you kind of have to take it with a grain of salt, meaning that many people refer to the practice of meditation. There are many different techniques, from concentration to mindfulness to you name it. There's many different techniques within meditation practice. So leading up to a state of meditation, we must go through a transition, a state of preparation. And to the degree that you need to transition from where you are to the meditative state depends on how you live your life, depends on your amount of meditation practice that you've done in this life. And part of that is the understanding of transitioning from the current mind state that you have, like right now. Before I begin my meditation, I'm in a mind state. This particular mind state is a product of my karma. And not to get too caught up in these words, it's very simple to understand. Your mind state, your current state of mind, is simply a product of all the thoughts, the actions, your mode of perception, how you view life, what you've done, how you feel. Everything is a accumulation that corresponds to your current state of mind. So we're happy, we're sad, we're stressed out, we're ecstatic, we're excited, we're depressed. We're, in Zen they say there are 10,000 states of mind. The 10,000 states of mind. So at any one time, we're in any one of these states of mind. Within the human band of perception, there's a very limited range from, say, extreme depression and despair and, just the lowest of the low, rock bottom, all the way up to the heights of ecstasy, joy, happiness, beyond the norm. And we have this particular band of a range of frequencies that we kind of bounce between in this life. Some stay within the middle, they're more balanced, perhaps. Some bounce between extremes. Some stay up in the higher ranges. Some get stuck down in the lower ranges. This is human life here on earth. So in the process of meditation, we are coming from whatever state of mind we begin the practice with. If we're brand new to meditation, your current state of mind is usually a product of how you've led your life up to that particular point. Whether that has been a life of a saint, where you're a Mother Teresa type and you love everyone and you do only good deeds and everyone loves you, or it's been the life of a criminal who's only sought to hurt people, to take advantage of people, to be extremely selfish. We can be selfish or we can be selfless. We can give or we can take in any particular situation. So today we're talking about extremes, the duality of life. And in meditation, it's important to understand that to come to a balance between extremes is what's called the middle path. The way to reach a higher state of consciousness, depending on wherever you're starting from, is to understand that there must be a balance between these extremes. So, for example, a practical example, of course, is your body. Many people think that they can lay down in bed or on the couch to meditate. I don't think that's a good idea, because your body will relax too much. And just like that string that is tuned to a specific tension on the guitar or a harp or a piano, there needs to be a perfect balance between tension and relaxation in order to get the proper frequency. Frequency is everything. So when we meditate, our body is the first thing. When we sit upright, I like to sit in a chair. Some people like to sit on the ground, cross-legged, half lotus, full lotus. That's great if you can do that. Unfortunately, I don't feel very comfortable even sitting cross-legged on the ground for very long. So I've always sat in a chair with my back straight, sort of on the edge of the chair. But it's important to have a certain posture when you meditate. It's a balance. Form is extremely important because form equals frequency. If your form is sloppy, without proper structure and posture, then you'll be emitting a certain frequency. Frequency is a bridge. Some call it vibration. I prefer the word frequency. Frequency is how frequent something moves. How many cycles per second. So if you look at a pyramid, for example, at the base of the pyramid here, let's say where this darker part is, would be a longer string. So it's a slower frequency. As we move up, boom, 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 to the top, you're at the point, the single point, single pointed mind. This is the higher frequency. So your mind is constantly in a pattern. It's in a cycle. It's in a frequency. Cycles are frequencies. How frequent is it cycling? Does that make sense? So it's cycling more frequently at the top, right? Because it's a smaller, tighter circle, if you will. And what's at the center of the circle? Stillness. Stillness is at the center of the circle. At the center of the turning worlds is perfect stillness. So this is like life. This is like dimensions. This is like your mind. Most people's minds are conditioned to move in a slow, repetitious type of a pattern. A slow cycle. Cycle. Constantly cycling. Day after day, year after year, life after life. Well, when are we going to get off the cycle? This is the point of getting off. Life should be a spiral, not a circle. Because a circle just goes round and round. And it repeats the same thing over and over and over and over again. But a spiral also cycles round and round, but it has a direction to it. It moves in a particular direction, usually towards the center. And as we move towards the center, we come to the still point where there's no more cycling. It's just, you're there. And so life, us, we're not separate from life, is all about frequency. Most people are in a low frequency because they're only down here. The body. The body appears solid because it's at a slow cycle, a slow rate of frequency, like a rock, solidity. Now, we know because we live in an enlightened age that everything is energy. We've been told this. As a metaphysician, as a spiritual seeker, as a Buddhist, a Taoist, or whatever you call yourself in the spiritual circles, we know that everything is light. Everything is made up of light, which is no different than saying everything is energy, right? And yet, appearances in this dimension appear solid. My body feels and appears solid. And yet, we have solid, liquid, gas within this dimension. Within the world of material, we have solid, liquid, gas. and plasma, which is electricity, lightning. It's really four states of matter. There's four steps to stillness. There are there is a parallel between all things. It has to be. Life wouldn't give us life wouldn't leave us without any clues, would it? That would be unfair. Come on, life. Give me a clue. Give me a hint. Well, what I come to realize is that everything is a picture of everything. Within the microcosm is the macrocosm. When you look at a leaf, you see the whole tree. The stem, the veins represent the trunk and the branches. It's the baby of the tree. Life is a mirror. It's reflexive. We reflect all of creation. So we have a body. We have a non-physical energy body. We have the mental body. We have many different dimensions to our own being. And as we meditate, we move from this dimension up the spectrum to the higher dimensions, to the point. So this is related to time. Time is related to cycles and frequency. So again, going back to a practical application of this information. Because what good is philosophy and information if you can't apply it to your practice of meditation, right? That's why we're here, to learn to meditate. And so your body posture is extremely important, because without good posture and holding a particular stillness within the body, look at it this way, like a pendulum swinging, right? There's a slow frequency. Now, as I tighten up the circle, I'm not saying you should sway your body like this, but as I tighten up the circle, I become more still, I become more still, I become more still, I become more still, I become more still. And eventually my body, becomes as still as I can make it. Now, I know you philosopher types are going to say, well, Rob, your body's never still. You got molecules always moving and blah, 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 blah. Okay, my friend, I get it. What we're talking about is how still you can make the things that are within your conscious control initially. Okay? This is important. Don't get too caught up in thinking. Don't get too caught up in over-analyzing everything, because that's just over-analysis. You can overthink a lot, and that's really not going to help you on your path to meditation. So, first we have the body, and the frequency of the body becomes high when we become still. And the good posture and the amount of muscular tension in the back, let's say, it takes to hold the good posture, and yet to hold the skeletal structure in a good alignment, the spine, the head, is a balance. Going back to the original point here, is a balance between relaxation and tension. Make sense? This is why I don't recommend laying down. You get way too relaxed and your body frequency is not as high as it can be. I'm a firm proponent, believer, and teacher that meditation is not just a mental process. It may seem like a mental process at first because your mind is constantly active. It's constantly thinking thoughts, and we think that that's the first thing that we want to kind of relieve ourselves of, is this constant chatter. And believe me, I understand. We all want relief from this. But true meditation is a full body process, because you're not separate from your body. You're responsible for the whole smorgasbord, right? Your body, your emotions, and your mind, which are the three-dimensional planes that I like to deal with, especially in the meditation technique that I teach. The single pointed mind meditation on the chakras. If you're new to the group, what I do here in the group during these 30-day challenges is demonstrate the single pointed mind technique on 3 chakras: navel, heart, third eye. These incorporate the body, the emotions, and the mind, symbolically and directly. Because life is a mix. Again, there's the duality. It's symbolic, and it's also direct and real and practical. The two come together. And ultimately, yoga is a merging of our separate sense, the sense that we're separate from all, into union with all. Because all is divine. The divinity is not just up here, it's everywhere. But we've been conditioned to believe that the earth is not divine, that only heaven is divine, right? But the truth is that nirvana is samsara, but the duality is only apparent when we are in a dualistic state of mind. So one of the approaches to meditation is the coming together of opposites, or the balance of polarity. This is why if you're overly masculine or overly feminine, it's not going to work. You have to have a balance between the two, because life is about a balance. Look at a tree. I always go back to nature. Look at a tree. The beauty of a tree, of a plant. There's a balance going on there. Within our body, we have many different channels, nadis, the Ida, the Pingala, the sun, the moon, which is the feminine and masculine aspects. These need to come into balance. The yin and the yang, the positive and the negative polarity. Without the two, without the active and the passive, without the electrical and the magnetic, we don't have complete life. And so what we're trying to do is transcend duality, ultimately. In the beginning, we're just trying to sit down and still the mind and concentrate. I understand. But the true transcendental nature of meditation is to transcend this illusion of duality, this perceptual discrepancy between myself and other. Now, you non-dualists will say, well, there is no other, and you're right. But just to intellectualize and say that is not enough. This has to become a living experience, which is why we meditate. You can read all the books, you can philosophize all you want, and intellectualize all you want, but that will not reach enlightenment. Now, I'm a firm believer in you got to work hard, you got to train. It just doesn't happen overnight. You gotta work it. You have to do some work. You have to purify. The purification process is the initial steps of what's going on here in your meditation training. So when we sit down, the body has a particular balance between relaxation and tension. So similarly, as we become deeper in our meditation, we notice that our emotions also need to have a balance. Our emotional body, what I call the subtle physical body. This is where the chakras are. The chakras are energy centers in our energy body. They're located around the areas that I like to point to because it brings my focus to that area. Your awareness can transcend all dimensions. It's not bound by any dimension. Consciousness is free. Free awareness, free attention is what we're ultimately trying to get to. But the dilemma with most people is that our attention, our awareness, has been locked up in the senses. This is simply due to the conditioning. The habits living in this world, we're taught how to perceive. We're indoctrinated, educated through all the various systems that we all go through. And what this causes is a lockup, in the body. This is why we're trying to transcend of our awareness. Our awareness is much locked up in the senses, our eyes, ears, our bodily sensations, the physical, the material. And unless we actually train, or unless we have an extreme experience through sex or drugs, or perhaps past life karma has just led you to find higher dimensions, most people are pretty much stuck in the material realm. 3D, we call it 3D, the physical. And this is a shame because we're much more than that. We are multi-dimensional beings, but we live in a world that does not respect or honor or perhaps even know about the alternate dimensions, especially within our own microcosm. We're a microcosm of the universe, of all of creation. And when I say universe, I'm not talking about the CGI graphics that you see on NASA's website about what they think the universe looks like. I'm talking about a real multi-dimensional universe. Call it a multiverse. You know, I would say quantum physics is probably more accurate. Not that I know a whole lot about quantum physics, but as you know, spirituality has always been sort of ahead of the curve in its understanding of life. You know, this goes way back to the ancient texts found within Hindu texts, found within, you know, all the texts of ancient India, Egypt, Tibet. They know because they have direct firsthand experience. At a certain point in time, this was a much more widely known knowledge. But since we've grown into a world of materialism, and there has been sort of a overlaid matrix upon us, if you will, of science and materialism, and you know that we all came from material, that we've lost this knowledge. This is the ancient knowledge and the wisdom of the enlightened and of realizers. Realizers are people who, for whatever reason, whether it be karma, whether it be hard work, whether it be just pure luck. I don't believe in luck, but they have come to realize something about the nature of life, the truth of our reality in which we exist. And that truth is that we are multidimensional. So meditation is a movement from this dimension into higher dimensions. The first movement is into the fourth dimension, which is the dimension of emotion. Your emotional body. This is when we focus on the chakras. We are literally tuning into another dimension. And we're moving away from the five senses into what I would call the sixth sense, intuition, feeling, not feeling in a tactile sense, but feeling in a energetic sense, the ability to feel beyond the physical, to feel energy. This is a subtle feeling. This is a lost art of feeling. And as we move up the chakra system, we move up the dimensional spectrum to a higher frequency. And what is stillness? Well, stillness is when you're not cycling anymore. There's no more repetitious, cyclic thought. Get off the wheel. The wheel is in your mind. Remember, everything is symbolic of your own spiritual journey. We are a mirror of creation. We reflect the universe. And it's a beautiful thing. And since I've been sitting here talking a while, we're going to get to the meditation. I'm just going to run to the bathroom real quick, and I'll be right back. Hold tight. Okay. All that coffee this morning. Well, I just had 1 cup. I like drinking coffee. 1 cup in the morning helps wake you up. It's important to be awake for your meditation, especially because, well, heck, we're not enlightened yet. At least I'm not. Maybe you are. And if you are, well, please send me a message. Leave a comment. Because we need all the work, all the help we can get in this world. In order to raise our frequency, we have a little bit of coffee. And that gives us a little bit of energy so that we can push real hard in the beginning, because we have to generate enough power to move our consciousness. And we need to blast off in order to get up into the higher dimensional regions, because we're so used to being down here in the body. Hey, what's up? I'm in the body. Good times. Sometimes. The problem is that the senses satiate. You ever wonder why pleasure just doesn't feel good after a while? And maybe initially, that first kick, you're like, yeah, this feels great. And then you try to do it again, it's like, not feeling so great anymore. Feel kind of burnt out. Whether it's food, sex, drugs, whatever it might be. It just doesn't last. And this is why the flesh fails us. Flesh Failures. Great song from the musical Hair. But I digress. Oh gosh. Well, if you're here to meditate, here we go. I've been talking for way too long, as I love to do, and I would love to answer more of your questions, you know? Because I could just sit here and give out information. Oh, we're back. I could sit here and give out information, but, you know, is it helping you? I feel like you really can't help people unless they ask for it. Otherwise, you're just kind of like it's just going to be like, you know? And so I really wish you would ask more questions. Like, what the hell are you doing here, Rob? That would be a good question. Because we all need to know. Or you don't know. You don't need to know what I'm doing here, but maybe you're interested in what I'm doing here. When I'm sitting still, when I'm looking off in the distance, when I'm focusing on a chakra. Anyway. So speaking of which, what I recommend is just watch the meditation session. If you're not patient enough to sit through the whole thing and watch, believe me, I understand. It can be pretty boring sitting here watching a guy just sitting still. I get it. Do this. After the recording is done, fast forward through. Like, look at me at the beginning, then go about 1/4 of the way. Okay, and then about halfway, and then about right towards the end, and then look at the very end of the video. Notice, is there something going on or not going on, as the case might be? Meaning, was there a transformation? Was there a transmutation? Does this meditation stuff really work? If you're here to learn about meditation, I'm here to help you. You know? Good. All right, so here we go. We'll be meditating today for 35 minutes, like I do with the Insight Timer app, which I've programmed to time me through the 5 steps to stillness. Count them 5 now. Who knows, maybe I'll be adding more, and it'll just be an infinite amount of steps to stillness, or maybe just 1 step. Who knows, we'll get so good we can just step right into it, right? But in the beginning, we need some training wheels. We got to step up to the stillness. And this is how we do it.